He was just a normal person, and he considered this as his obligation and not as a symbolical role. I think it's important because we live in a period when the role of the writers has to be redefined or something, and for that it's important that he, as a person who was active in late 70s, 80s and during his presidential period, is important. It was not a result of a meeting of something, it was a result of unofficial activity which was triggered by the action against young musicians, a group of young musicians, plastic people of the universe, where the government made a real act of ill, and therefore he and several other friends get together and wrote a proclamation, which is Charter 77. They found about 200 people to sign it, and then later more and more people signed it. I was somewhere else, so I was not present at that, but I knew about that activity. My brother visited me and mentioned that, and he even advised me not to sign it, that one person in the family is enough to sign it. You see, he was an example of somebody who is not an old-fashioned politician who is struggling for power. He was a symbol of activity which is sincere, which is for the case and not for the other outcomes like power also. And I think that both his activity before our Velvet Revolution and after that was very influential on people. I think that it's a very important event, especially when more nations in Europe are joining that event, and that it's a certain symbolical act of finding people who are changing the attitude towards justice and good things. Why exactly this day is difficult to say, because for him early March is not an important date, but I think it's important by itself, so it becomes, the date becomes in future, especially when it's repeated every year or maybe periodically, it might be important. I think there were two periods of his presidency. The initial period was when he tried to oppose the formality of the presidential office. He was trying to behave as a normal person, and only later it appeared that it is necessary to behave like a president, to dress and to make formal acts. For him, typical was that he never let somebody else to write his speeches. He wrote them, and he was a writer, so it was not a problem for him. He wrote them himself.